Hey guys, I want to start by thanking you. And thanking you first, I'm hoping to guilt you into watching the entire 10-ish minutes this will take, a portion of which I am certain to ramble. I can guarantee that. You'll quickly learn that I lack the ability to edit myself verbally with the same effectiveness as I do in text, although for long-time readers that should probably make you nervous as well. But I would like to point out that reality is frequently inaccurate, so assuming this is any sort of resemblance to reality, go easy, please don't judge. I'm really nervous. There's something inherently awkward about sitting alone in a room, talking to yourself, even if it's with the intent of talking to other people, and hopefully a few of you will watch. I would be grateful. And I promise it'll be worth it, maybe, possibly, at least a little bit. And I will try to keep this on topic. The rough plan is to talk about my favorite books to read during the month of October. I genuinely do enjoy being scared, although I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with horror movies. Gory ones don't bother me. That's not particularly a facet of horror that frightens me. I'm thinking like Cabin in the Woods, The Ruins, the Saw series here, which I actually found kind of gross, to be honest. Psychological terror and psychological horror are much more effective at scaring me. Recently I tried to watch Dark Skies, and I did the really mature thing and I had to pause at about 45 minutes and look up the ending, and when I found out that the aliens do indeed win, I had to shut it off. I couldn't finish it. I did discover, so it's not a total loss, that even as an adult, hiding your head under a pillow during the scary parts is not an effective coping mechanism. And sorry for the spoiler there. But what can I say? It's a horror movie. Good rarely wins. Though I do think that is why I enjoy books so much. It allows my imagination to construct the most terrifying scenarios imaginable while still allowing me to feel I'm safe. So obviously I have a bit of a cloven mind in regards to written and visual horror. Why I tolerate one so well and why the other one I can't handle, I have no idea. But on to the books. The first I'm going to recommend is Dan Simmons. Catch that. It's a bit of a brick. It's really well researched, and by default a bit dry in places because of that. But it's also very atmospheric, very foreboding. I can guarantee you'll never want to go without vitamin C again. But Scurvy's really scary. What can I say? But it is based on the 1845 Arctic expedition of Sir John Franklin. I don't know if you know your maritime history or your unsolved mystery history, but if you do, you'll know not to expect a happy outcome. And it has to be said, because it's just too easy, that over the course of the novel, quite a few seamen are swallowed and the rest are spit out. It has to get better from there. I can't go lower than that. I just publicly admitted, essentially, to having the humor of a 13-year-old boy. It can only go up. So on that note, yeah, sorry, every wall in this room has a window. There's no getting rid of the sun. But The Stand is my favorite of what I consider classic King, the ones that everyone knows and loves. This one always makes me a bit nervous for humanity, because if you're not familiar with the novel, humans have created a flu-like virus that decimates 99% of the population, and the remaining 1% can't seem to get along. Actually, I actually think that what makes this one so scary is that it's entirely plausible, for the most part. The fighting, at any rate. I don't know that I get nervous when I see a crow on a power line, but there's something creepy about those birds, so you never know. I keep hearing rumors that Ben Affleck is going to remake this miniseries, and I don't know if you've seen the really, really awful Molly Ringwald one, but if you have, you'll know that it's necessary. If you haven't, you're not missing out. But I am incredibly hopeful, and if you've seen Armageddon, you'll know that Ben is the perfect character to play Stu, perfect actor. They're essentially the same character. I'm mostly being facetious here. I don't think Armageddon should ever be compared to anything of cinematic glory, and I know Ben Affleck's version of The Stand would be. If I hope it so, it will be so, right? That's what I'm going for here. So, moving on to the next one, we have Bag of Bones by Stephen King. Surprise. This is one of my favorite contemporary novels, and if you haven't seen it referenced on my blog, then obviously you're skimming. But it is part love story, part ghost story, and it is one of the few novels that consistently makes me cry. I have read it a few times and I've listened to it on disc. Stephen King narrates it, so it's worthwhile if you get a chance to check it out. But you could say the novel haunts me. See, I promised it would get better, and I don't know that it is, but it's good. They made a mini-series out of this one too. So if you happen to read it and enjoy it and want to watch it, don't watch it. It's shit. Pierce Brosnan's in it. And I don't care what you do to Pierce Brosnan, you can never make him look like a 30-something blonde American. It's just not working. Okay, next we have Communion, a true story. If I'm in a good mood, and I happen to be in a good mood right now because otherwise this would never happen, I hate seeing myself on camera and I hate hearing myself talk. So, brilliant combination there that I'm actually getting this done. But when I was little, if I'm happy, I like to call my childhood unconventional. I lived in a wide variety of locations with a wide variety of people, all of whom had differing tastes in literature and music and film. This explains a lot actually if I think about it. But when I was maybe 8 or so, I was living in a very Catholic household, and this also coincided with the advent of the X-Files. And I think because Scully so strongly identified as Catholic, and her faith and her questioning of her faith came through so strongly in the series, that is what we watched on Sunday nights. That was your entertainment regardless of age. So I think this more than anything else is responsible for my rather irrational fear of aliens that I still have, because I don't ever remember not being afraid of them. And so unless I saw aliens when I was 5 or something, which is totally possible as well, I blame The X-Files, which is actually one of my favorite shows of all time. If you haven't watched it, I would suggest you do so. If you don't like it, I would suggest you question who you are, because you're crazy. Just kidding. I'm sure some people don't like The X-Files. I just don't know any of them, thankfully. But Communion, a true story, to get on topic with the book. It's the true story, according to the author. I don't know if it is, but he believes it, so that's worth something, of his essentially communicating with extraterrestrial beings. It scared me quite a bit, and really by quite a bit, I mean largely it scared the piss out of me. I jumped at every creak in the floor for more than a week. And if that's not effective storytelling, or in this case possibly fact reporting, then I don't know what is. I would give it a chance if you ever happen to pick it up. It's, of all the alien abduction literature out there, it's a good one. He's written quite a bit after that too, and it's some of them have been turned into films, which I haven't watched because there's no way in hell that would ever happen. Next we have, this is going really well, It by Stephen King. It is occurring to me that I largely could have composed this list entirely of Stephen King novels, because Pet Sematary does deserve to be on here as well, although it's not. I took quite a bit of comfort in this novel when I was younger, if that doesn't sound too creepy. I moved around quite a bit, as I said, and I went to more schools than I could count, though not literally, because school did teach me how to count all the way to 14, which is the number of schools I attended. But because of that, I never really felt like I fit in anywhere, and that is much the case of the characters in this novel too. There's a group of kids that sort of by default of not fitting in with their peers end up forming a group together. They call themselves the Losers Club, which I certainly would have been a member of when I was 12. And if you weren't awkward when you were 12, I don't think we can be friends anymore. It's a horrible age. But they battle evil. They ultimately grow up to be very successful adults, save one. The one who's not is the one who becomes a librarian, and that particular irony is not lost on me, but that is what you get when you choose your profession from a Stephen King novel, which is what I did. I graduated from college very, very young, and I didn't know what to do, so when I was trying to figure out what I wanted, I had happened to read Insomnia during that time, and one of the characters is a librarian, and I thought, hey, let's try librarianship. And I don't regret that, but except maybe when I get paid. But that's an entirely different story. This one also has a really terrible miniseries attached to it if you sense a theme going on with Stephen King books on this list. Because, I mean, obviously his stories do turn into good movies sometimes. The Green Mile and Shawshank Redemption and Stand By Me, and even Hearts in Atlantis wasn't that bad. But we'll move on to The Wasp Factory. There's nothing like reflecting myself in my iPad on the cover. But it is by the late, great Ian Banks. This is one of my favorite contemporary novels, in addition to Bag of Bones. And the teenage protagonist in this one is one of the creepiest characters that I have come across. And that's saying a lot, really, because I do seek out more disturbing literature for whatever reason. But I have it on good authority that if you're newly dating somebody and you give this book to them and tell them that you love it and it's amazing, they will then worry for your mental health and really not want to hang out with you anymore. So if you do love it like I do, after you read it, you might want to keep your love for it quiet, as I do now, except for this moment. But finally, the last one I'm going to recommend for you is House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski. I don't have a lot to say about this one, at least not that would sound coherent. It's the story of a house that is larger on the inside than it is on the outside. It's part love story, part horror story, part satire, and completely baffling. I've read it twice and I don't think I've caught everything in it yet that there is to catch. And while I do admire the creativity with the layout and the font and all of that, I find it mildly irritating. And if you have read it, I'm curious if you did too. I can't be the only one. But a bit of trivia for you is that Mark Danielewski's sister is the singer-songwriter Poe, who I listened to quite a bit when I was a teenager. I think she had a song on the 1998 Great Expectations soundtrack. I want to say that's how I discovered her. But eventually she re-recorded one of her songs, Hey Pretty specifically, with Mark reading excerpts of House of Leaves throughout the song. I found it quite creepy actually, and I didn't enjoy it, but it was popular for a little while, so win-win for them both. So that is it. I'm mostly through here. 7 books that I would recommend reading during the holiday season, Halloween season, October. Take your pick. You can read this at Christmas too if you want. People might think you're weird, but you have a good time. So, sincerely though, if you do happen to take any of my recommendations, I would be thrilled. Even I rarely take myself seriously, so if you did, it would mean a lot. But if you made it here, thank you for watching. I love you forever now, essentially. You sat through 13 minutes of me essentially nattering on about nothing. So, until next time, and by next time I mean probably never. I can't imagine doing this again. But thanks, bye, happy Halloween.